awesome day it's been so far. I just love listening to Chaplain Don. He talks about the different things about God. He's been talking a lot about being called exiles and aliens. It kind of goes along with the stories we've been looking at lately. Sometimes we forget that really our citizenship is in heaven. It kind of makes me think about like this globe right here. Imagine it's just kind of just in the universe. It's just kind of sitting there all alone. It's really awesome. And I can't believe that someday we will leave this earth and be with God in heaven. I think that's awesome. Don't you? Today we're going to continue our story with Moses. Now, if you remember, last week we talked about how Moses told the Pharaoh, let my people go. And he wouldn't. And he said 10 plagues. Those are some pretty crazy plagues too. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I remember like the flies and the gnats and the frogs. The frogs were everywhere, man. I just can't believe that. And there was blood. And then that sad one, which taking away the firstborn child. That made me kind of sad. Did it make you sad? Sometimes we don't understand maybe all the time what God does. Maybe that's the reason why he gave us his only son. He sacrificed his son too. Maybe you've been thinking a lot like me with this whole COVID thing. You're thinking, what's so great about it? Or why do we have to keep on doing the things we're doing? I know I was excited that they lifted some of the things. I saw a lot of you guys out there playing on the playground. That was awesome to see you guys on the swings, on the slide, and being able to play with your parents, maybe, doing basketball. That was cool. One of the things it reminds me of is that we owe a lot of thanks to the people that have rescued us. We're talking these last couple of weeks about how God rescues us. But there are people all around that rescue us every day. I got a couple of pictures here I want to show you. I was wondering if maybe you might think about how God rescues us. And he does that a lot of times through people. Let's get this first picture. What's that? That's right. It's a doctor. Doctors have been on what we call the front lines with this sickness. And they go to work every day. And they do that to make us feel better and to help protect us. They're the ones that give us medicine. And they're the ones that can help us get better. I'm really thankful that we have doctors. Aren't you? They rescue us by providing all the medicines that we need. And they go to school for a long time. They got that stethoscope right there. I'm so thankful for doctors. What's this one? Oh, this one. You know what that one is, right? That's called an ambulance. In German, they call it a Krankenwagen. Kind of weird, Krankenwagen. But anyways, an ambulance sometimes happens when maybe you're really sick and you can't make it to the hospital. So you call 911, or here in Germany, you call 119, and you say, I need some help. Or help, my mommy's not doing too well, or something like that. And then sure enough, they'll send an ambulance. And the ambulance comes, and they got the siren. And they go all the way to the hospital. And then the doctor comes, and they take care of them. So they rescue you by taking you over to the hospital, and the doctor takes care of you. That's some pretty important stuff. That's pretty special. How about this one? What's this a picture of? That's right. It's a picture of a fire engine or a fire truck. It's got a ladder. It's got sirens. It's got the hose in case there's a fire. They got to be able to put it out. In some of the apartments where we live, sometimes the fire alarm goes off. And that's to make sure that we're safe. But if there really was a fire, well, they would send the fire truck and they would rescue us by putting out the fire. I'm thankful about that. Last is this one right here. Who's this? That's right. It's your friendly neighborhood policeman. Now in military, they look a little bit different because they wear a uniform just like Mr. Cameraman does. But they wear a military uniform. But this guy wears a uniform too. It's just blue. And the policemen, they're there to rescue us too, to make sure. A lot of times, police departments have what's called a motto. And their motto is to protect and serve, or to protect and defend. They want to make sure that everybody is safe. I'm really thankful for police officers. I'm thankful for all the people, like our soldiers, or our nurses, and our doctors, and our police officers, and our firemen. Because they're the ones that keep us safe. And if something happens, they would come rescue us. You know, in today's story, the people of Israel, they needed rescuing too. Oh, you remember, last week, they got away from Egypt. But what they weren't prepared for is the fact that on their way, they had to come to a great obstacle. And they wondered, who will rescue us? Because Pharaoh was still mad. He was mad that he lost his son, and he was mad that he lost all of his slaves. So he wanted to make sure that he could bring them back. So he had all his army go after him. Let's go ahead and read that story together. Okay, Mr. Cameraman, come on over here. Got our trusty Storybook, Jesus Storybook Bible pictures. I'll go ahead and read it, and you can follow along with the pictures. Okay. God makes a way. Moses and God's people escaped out of Egypt and into the wilderness. They didn't know the way, but God knew the way, and he would show them. I will bring you to a new home, a special land, God promised them. I will look after you. I am with you. God sent a big cloud for them to follow, a pillar of smoke stretching up to the sky. It moved in front of them as they walked and shaded them from the blazing heat of the day. And then when it was time to rest, it stopped. All through the cold desert nights, it kept them warm, glowing like fire. God led his people through the desert to the edge of a great sea. They were just wondering how to cross it when suddenly they heard a terrible thundering and pounding. It sounded almost like horses' hooves. They shaded their eyes to look back and screamed, "Ah!" It was! Pharaoh and his army were coming to get them. Pharaoh had changed his mind. "Get my slaves back!" he screeched, and charged into the desert after them, with 600 of his fastest horsemen and every single chariot in Egypt. What were God's people going to do? In front of them was a big sea. It was so big there was no way around it. But there was no way through it. It was too deep. They didn't have any boats, so they couldn't sail across. And they couldn't swim across because it was too far, and they would drown. And they couldn't turn back because Pharaoh was chasing them. They could see the flashing swords now, glinting in the baking sun, and the dust clouds, and chariot after scary chariot surging towards them. So they did the only thing there was left to do. Panic! "We're going to die!" they shrieked. "Don't be afraid," Moses said. "But there's nothing we can do!" they screamed. "God knows you can't do anything. God will do it for you," Moses said. "Trust him and watch." "But there's no way out!" they cried. "God will make a way," Moses said. Another minute, and it would have been over. But then, the strangest thing happened. God made the pillar of smoke move. It moved behind his people and hid them from the Egyptians. Then God sent a strong east wind to blow all night long. It blew on the water of the big sea. It blew it to the left and it blew it to the right until it blew it into two towering walls of water. And there, right through the middle of the sea, a muddy pathway opened up. And God's people walked across on dry land. When the Egyptians tried to follow, the walls of water crashed back down on them and swallowed them up. God's people were safe. They danced and laughed and sang and thanked God. When there had been no way out, God had made a way. Many years later, once again, God was going to make a way where there was no way. From the beginning, God's children had been running from him and hiding. God knew his children could never be happy without him, but they couldn't get back to him by themselves. They were lost. They didn't know the way back, but God knew the way, and one day he would show them. Oh man, was that not the best story or what? God rescued them. Just like we have our policemen and our firemen and our doctors and our nurses. They rescue people all the time. They're like, God's like all of them combined. It was amazing. You know, it makes me think about what would be some words that made me think about who God is and all the wonderful things he did. You know, if you have your activity sheet, you might want to follow along because I want to teach you a special verse today. Remember, when people were panicking like crazy, they were going, oh no, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? And they were panicking like crazy. There's like this army in the back of them, and they had this water in the front of them, and they think, oh my gosh, we're going to die! We're dead! We survived, but we're dead! Moses said, don't worry, because God was going to rescue them. That's why I love this verse. It says, I will take you as my own people, and I will be your God. Do you ever think about how great that is? That when we need help, when we're scared, or we're wondering what's going to happen, we know that God is in control, that God will rescue us. That makes me wonder, let's do that first part of your activity sheet together. What are some words that you would want to put when it says, God is on your sheet? See right here? It said, God is. What would be some words that you want to put there? They could be any word you want. What would you say? God is cool. All right, I like that one. Cool. What's another one? God is big. You're right, I think that's true. God is big. What about another one? God is our protector. You betcha, he's our protector. What's it? God is faithful. Oh, yeah, that's a good one. Think of another word, maybe. A couple more. God is powerful. Yeah. All right, I gotta put this over here. Don't want to get my back to the camera. That's a special thing you learn when you're acting lessons, right? Powerful. I think we're missing a word that I would want to use. You guys can use any word you want in that phrase. But you know what word I would use? This one right here. In fact, I'm going to put it in red just because red's one of my favorite colors. I think you know what word I'm thinking of, right? God is what? It's in my name. That's right. God is awesome. Woo-hoo! God is awesome. Don't ever forget that, guys. Remember, God loves you. He's the one who's going to protect you. If God can make the sea go on either side so you can walk on dry land, don't you think God can take care of you even in this time when we're scared or we're wondering why we have to stay home or we're worried about maybe our grandmothers or grandfathers if they've gotten sick? Don't you think that God is bigger than this little virus? I think he is. God is awesome and he is in control. So don't worry because God will rescue. Well, until next time, remember, God thinks you're special and he loves you very much. Remember that and never forget it. Until next time, Captain Awesome.